Namaste. I am Sumita Dutta Shoam, publisher at Adi Sakrit. We are immensely proud to present our 11th book titled Eight Armed Goddess. It is a collection of poems by Sindhoor Varkoor. Sindhoor is a poet from Hyderabad, India. Her first book of poems, Musing Madhawa-Viraha Madhawam, was published in June 2019. The book has received critical acclaim all across the globe, and many of her poems have been published worldwide. Today, we are so pleased to bring to you the online launch of her second book, Eight Armed Goddess. The book will be released by poet Geeta Verma. Geeta is a poet from Chennai, India. Her first book of poems, To My Violin, was published by Adi Sakrit in 2018. Her second book of poems, Twilight Hours, co-authored along with her husband Sri Kumar Verma, was published by Adi Sakrit in December 2019. Over to Geeta in conversation with Sindhoor Varkoor.
Congratulations, Sindhoor. I'm so happy to release your book. I feel honored. Eight-Armed Goddess by Sindhoor Varkoor. The cover is so attractive, and I think anyone would pick this up. The poems, they're so sensitive and so beautiful. I think no one should miss this book. What made you choose the title, and how did you design this cover?
Thank you so much, Geeta Tai, for launching my book. It's a real privilege. I feel so happy that you're doing this for me. It's really very sweet of you.
Thank you.
And this cover is titled Mano Antarang.
Yes.
It's an oil on canvas, which I had done in 2012. You can see it right behind me over the wall. That's the painting.
All right.
And at that point of time, I didn't have this in mind. I didn't have this theme of women and writing a book on women in mind at all.
Yeah.
And it just happened that this painting that I had in my mind fitted the topic that I was doing, and it completely blended into these poems, and they all became one. That's how it happened. And it's titled Mano Antarang. It means the innermost layer of the heart. Now that layer which only the woman can experience to herself, something very personal. So that is the layer I put across to the world. I lay it bare for people to read.
Yeah.
So I would call it a very bold portrayal.
All right.
And Kavya Adisakrit has published the book, and I'm so glad that Sumita has done such a wonderful job. You can see how she lets the hair flow, and there are these blurbs that are printed over the hair. So it's done so aesthetically, so beautifully, and I love the artwork that is put up on it. And I also made a flourish for this book. It's a mermaid.
Yeah.
It's a mermaid swimming, and maybe I'll just put it near the camera.
Yeah.
Is it visible?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, this is the mermaid that I drew. It's a flourish, and I'm so happy with the book and the way it is done with so much love. And I really thank Sumita Dattasham uh, for this book.
What made you choose this title, Sindhu? Eight-Armed Goddess?
Tai, as we all know, that as a woman, you must be knowing that we are either goddesses or demons. There isn't anything human about a woman, as far as I know. So either we are put up on a pedestal, or they throw us down, call us demons or witches and the like. So there are always hyperbolic terms that are used for a woman, and we are seldom human. So I took this title from the Hindu mythology. And why eight-armed goddess is because the goddess is never seen with just two arms. She's bestowed with more than two arms. And eight is a very powerful number, and it signifies eight vasus, which control the entire universe. So she becomes all powerful. So eight-armed goddess is every woman, and every woman is powerful. This is what I wanted to say to the book.
Absolutely, because every woman is actually a goddess, because I think she keeps giving and giving and nobody really understands her. You're kind of bound by many rules and many ideas of other people about you, and then you get stuck in that, and the entire life is to free yourself from all that is binding you. And this is also another thing is it's your poems are so sensitive and very artistic. Even in this book, the previous book was very different from this one, Viraha Madhava, and I find that was more about Krishna, and this is a big change, big drastic difference. What would you like to say about that?
Previous book, which is called Musing Madhawa-Viraha Madhawam, it is definitely about Viraha, it's about Madhavam, which is an entity that the woman is waiting for constantly. So there is this concept of submission, which I spoke about, where the woman is submitting herself to that divine entity or to the beloved or to the lover. But here
Yes,
there is resistance. So here the woman is totally resisting. There is nothing like submission in eight-armed goddess. She
yes,
refuses to submit herself. Either ways, whether there is submission or there is resistance, I feel that it is the choice of the woman. She
yes,
cannot be grabbed. This is what I
yes,
wanted to say. Thank you
yes. She
so much.
cannot be grabbed. Absolutely. Uh, I like the way you use images and words. Now, just to begin with, if I'll read the first poem. You begin the book with the poem called Outlines. After everything gets over, only outlines of memories remain like coal in the eyes, smudged into life. Nothing gets erased. You're speaking about memories, and you're also speaking about, uh, again, eyes and women and coal and kajal.
This in this entire book, I have just tried to see, or I have tried to explain how the so much is trapped in the eyes of a woman. So to begin with, I wanted to begin with the kajal. It's so
Yes,
near to the eyes. And just like the kajal that is smudged and it built layer upon layer in ancient times, they were never, there was no concept of this makeup remover. So they would use a fabric, a thick fabric, to wipe out the previous layer of kajal and again line it up with a new layer. Just like our lives, which are
yes,
built up layer upon layer upon layer, and then nothing is
yes,
forgotten. So all the
yes,
memories are built up one upon the other,
yes.
and I wanted to say that through this poem.
And it kind of introduces you to the uh, to your theme of about women. I'll just read the next poem called Stories. Uh, I have stories of spilt milk on burning coals. Watching carefully, I let it simmer and spill. I have stories of lost wars when, like the iron gate, I still stood bearing the first slashes. I have stories of waiting like drought for rain, deserted, I live in vain. I have stories of bottled life, filled to the brim, empty, empty like grave silence, coffined in dust. This speaks about all kinds of women. So when you say stories, actually, whatever a woman experiences, you've written it. Images are, they kind of cover all the topics, all the ideas about women.
Yes, in a nutshell, this entire in this poem, I have explained what is to come. This forms the theme to the other poems that are to follow. And I've used very domestic images that are so near to all of us. I mean, the image of spilt milk and the gate and the rain
Yes,
and all.
yes. Why don't you read a poem?
I will read this poem called Eight-Armed Goddess,
Okay.
which is the title poem. Eight-Armed Goddess. The goddess is bright, with sapphire eyes and a coral tongue, happy for all the songs we sung. Her ruby lips have smiled at you, and her rose quartz cheeks have blushed unseen. With your single jaded grasp, don't you think she has become your mighty queen? The goddess is decked tonight, her heavy red attire to her is light. Take her upon your shoulder and show her your world. She's seen it all with her third eye before. Nothing remains to be told. Do not play with this goddess as if she's in your fold. She plays with you instead. This eight-armed goddess needs no single-shouldered bliss. In her heart, she holds and unfolds your universe as it is, and can shut your eyes with a single kiss.
Yes, it's so beautiful, and I can imagine when you read it, when you recite the poem, I can imagine the goddess being decorated, and what you feel is absolutely, because you know that she's you cannot control a woman. If somebody thinks and you take her for granted, it won't happen that way. And the goddess also knows very well uh, whatever you are thinking. She can be gentle, very gentle, as well as very, very strong. And so a woman is like that. If you make her a goddess, you will see her as goddess, but she knows everything, and you can't take her for granted. Is that so?
Yes, that's exactly what I try to talk about in this poem. Absolutely right.
Yeah. Why don't you
Thank you.
read one more poem?
Um, the next poem I would like to read is on page number 18. It's called Refugee. War broke out at home. Everyone said she has to leave this place. Everything hers was erased. No trace was left behind, except that she carried away with her those eyes, that blood, that scar on her forehead, the childhood sketch, all decked like a goddess with turmeric hands, dipped into a new pool and a red dot, the full stop equal. From here to there she went to a place where women are women and men men. This new place she should call her home, this refugee, there to hear, ever outsider, those eyes, that blood, stains of offspring.
Yes, ever outsider. Yes. Uh, when you are married, when you get married and go to a new home, first thing is you want to be accepted, and you try to own in the sense with your heart you accept everything, but you still remain an outsider. Is that
Absolutely.
yeah?
Absolutely, Sai. This is what I was trying to say. And it's also about the ritual of Sindhoor, which is
Yes,
blown beyond its normal meaning, and it's blown beyond proportion. So
yeah,
there's so much of chastity and everything is attached to it.
yes,
And widows are not supposed to wear sindoor. And I was just trying to talk about these rituals,
yes,
which they have a scientific meaning to them, but the science has lost its meaning nowadays. So everything
yes.
has become ritualistic. There is a religious a connotation attached to these things
Connotation. Yes.
nowadays. It's been there, and now I don't think it's gone. It's going to be there forever. That is what I feel. Somewhere we have to break that.
Uh,
That is the reason why I talk about some of these traditions in this book, Eight Armed Goddess.
okay. I'd like to read this poem just because on page 10. Uh, this again speaks about, uh, generally people tend to judge a woman by her appearance. But she's not that what you see. There's much more to her. So just because, just because I wear delicate white flowers, pure as milk, woven and coiled into my sleeping hair like an innocuous serpent. Do not think I become them. My tresses can be angry dark waves, sweeping you into their night. Just because I drape multi-hued silk pinned to traditional chains, Do not think I become them. My shrouded heart wears silvery white, free as a breeze. It will scatter your breath like pollen carried by wanton bees. Just because I line my eyes, soul dark designs, do not think you can cross those bordered eyes and become dewdrops in dreaming eyes. I may shut them once to choke you twice. Your poems don't need any explanation, actually. And the words are so perfect. It's like a sculptor chiseling out a statue from a stone. You use, I mean, the words are so correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wish to read another poem. It's called Father's Spectacles. It's on page number 42. Father's Spectacles. Those who rest in peace leave us in pieces, restless for the rest of life. There lie those spectacles of my father, untarnished yet broken, lost in timeless vision, blind yet staring at me, the daughter, now dead to him. If he's lost, so am I, in ruthless hands of time that has strangled him and me alike. One thing is sure, I needn't bother about him anymore. I can rest in peace.
Yes. This is something which even I keep thinking about it. When you see somebody, you think about a person who's no more. Um, the, actually, I wonder if it is the other way around, that we are dead, and it's the other person who won't see us. And the spectacles is just correct. This is something which attracts me. When even when my father passed away, when I saw his room, the spectacles, the footwear, these are the things you remember, which attract you, which yes.
So
So
true. It's like they live on and we are the ones who are dead.
yes, yes. I'd like to read your words. As I told you, I was telling you, it's so perfect. A cloud in me. And when you think about the cloud, you're not just thinking about the cloud in the sky. You're thinking about yourself. So it's very strong imagery. What it takes to burst into a shivering song and fall as shimmering silver coined twinkles. Only the cloud and I know. So I mean, you have to think. You have to. It's so deep. This is all the poem. Very small poem, but you bring out everything about a woman's feelings. Would you like to read another poem?
I would like to read this poem called Spice Jar. It's on page 7.
Hmm. Yeah.
The spice jar broke today. The lid survived like a tough bone, saving itself, hid in a corner under the fridge. When glass shattered, you know how many pieces made it. When they scatter all around, you remember how it stood there as one piece once in time, a monument, shelved and wrapped in aroma. When glass shatters, it breaks you suddenly, as if it was you in pieces.
Yes. Actually, when you are going through very tough times, sometimes it's the small things that make you cry. It reminds you. I mean, it's kind of a breaking point. So you have this glass shattering. It's such a common thing. I'd like to read a poem about this. The poem on widows is very. Uh, I would, because I felt maybe you've seen and you've observed many traditional customs, and your observations. I think this speaks about that. Widow, come, slit this throat. It babbles a language only you know. Before someone deciphers it, you cut it like green bangles broken on red hands, shrouded white, that should no longer talk of him. It's so sad.
Absolutely. This is about a tradition that is existent even today, especially in the Hindu society. They call it the making of widows. It sounds similar to making of the bride. And there
Yes.
is a ritual that goes on. Just as
Yeah.
how the new bride is made to wear bangles, usually green in color in our culture, here the bangles are broken with a stone. And I have seen my mother go through that. I have seen my mother-in-law going through that. I have seen my sister-in-law, and it really it was such a trauma watching the whole thing. And I wondered how they would have been, experiencing these things. What would have been happening in the mind, in the heart of the person who's going through that, who's already lost the partner.
Yes.
And what are we doing? We as a society, we as fellow women are enjoying the whole thing. We are letting it
Yeah.
happen. We are not speaking
Yes.
against it. We are
In
doing
fact,
nothing
some
to stop it.
yes, yes. And in fact, some women even uh, they insist on this ritual. I've heard about it.
Yes, they do. And they feel that if you don't perform that, you're not chaste enough. So
Yes.
having the bangles on, having the sindoor on is a sign of not being chaste anymore. So it's like you're not
Okay.
missing your partner, so you have them on.
Yeah.
But do they
Yes.
ever die? I mean, uh, do husbands ever die? Is my question. Don't you have them
Yes.
within you all the time?
Yes.
Does anybody die for that matter?
Yeah.
So why should there be a ritual like this?
Yes.
Yeah, and
It,
I think it's very bold on my part to do it because I come from a very conservative family, a very traditional family. And for me to be talking about such a thing, I don't know how the world will take it, but
yeah.
I dare it. Like Helen Sixu says,
No, I
woman
think
must
it
dare
has.
to tell.
Yes, I think it has to be stopped. This kind of rituals without significance. I'd like to know one thing, Sindhu. What inspires you? Like, what makes you write? Is it your own experiences or your observations of somebody else going through certain experiences? Is it personal?
As I told you, Geeta Tai, it's experience both of the people who are experiencing these things outside as well as what I feel. So I kind of tend to internalize all these things and they churn up emotions, and that is what makes me write these poems. And I've been writing them since 2011. These poems are not written for this book. I've just been collecting the poems that I've been writing over a period of time. And as you say, I have watched women very
Yeah.
closely. I have experienced, I have seen them, and I know what they're going through. I think all of us as poets, and you are a poet
Yes.
yourself, all of us are very empathetic. We have that empathy in us where we can experience and feel what the other person is feeling. And I guess
Yes.
that is what the poem Cloud is all about. So
Yes.
if we can feel what the cloud is like, then I think we can feel what each other, each of us are feeling within ourselves. This is what I
Yes.
feel. Sai, would you want to read Curry Contest?
Yeah, I can. I'll read.
It's
Yeah.
on page 20.
Uh, this is another poem which is very interesting. Contest. The endless curry contest has just begun. Hers versus mine. As I start cooking his favorite dish, her eyes scrutinize the textures and flavors from my simmering pan. I smile and she smiles back sweetly. Time has changed. Both of us agree. My soft manicured fingers run the blender, while her tough charred hands the grinder. What has changed has changed. Both of us agree. But somewhere all's the same. My pickled poetry and her jarred emotions. All for him, hers and mine.
Sai, as you can see, this is about the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law. And I think all of us have gone through this where we want to make the dish as tasty as possible, and it becomes a big contest in itself. So we're trying to say that we can make things better, and we can make them better than the other person. So that's about it.
in quite a few poems, you speak about hair. Would you like to say something about it?
Definitely, the symbol of hair is very, very important for me because in our culture, the woman is not supposed to leave her hair. It's only the demon. And they often say that you have to tie your hair and, make a, braid it up or plait it up or, tie it up. That's how they tell you. But then I feel that the
Yes,
constitution of the hair itself is loose. So it has to be, let loose.
let
In
loose.
other words, it's also a kind of freedom that I'm asking for. There is
Yes.
one poem completely on hair. It's called Constitutional Right. I want to read that poem. It's on page
Okay,
50.
read, please. Yes.
Constitutional Right. I let loose my million bonds, my disheveled, unconventional hair, like a spoiled air, refuses to be bound. It limitlessly flaunts itself in this bordered world, fighting for its constitutional right to be free.
So much like, again, as women, we always feel we are bound, we are stuck to so many rules, and you're always trying to get liberated. So I think this is a beautiful poem. In Flames, I would love to read all your poems. Mother. Mother always looks beautiful, her eyes filled with love, her marble white visage, chiseled to perfection, glows in the darkness around, lit by the hanging deer. Chanting her name, they held the struggling lamb, bleating in utter helplessness. Chanting her name, they held the sharp sword on its neck. Chanting her name, beheading they left. Chanting her name. Goddesses, Garbhagriha became red. Such a contrasting picture.
Yeah. The motherly aspect of the goddess. Goddess is mother, the motherly aspect of a woman.
Yes. So your goddess, eight-armed goddess, is so beautiful. Just like what you, the book itself is beautiful, just like your goddess.
I would like to read one poem, one last poem from this book,
Yes.
which is called Stigmata. Stigmata,
Stick.
as we all know, is
Yeah.
taken from the Bible. Stigmata are those marks on the cross that Christ experienced when he was
Okay.
crucified. So I
Oh,
had taken
okay.
this term from that. Stigmata is a biblical term. So I'm reading
Okay.
that.
All right.
Stigmata. Do not cross me, for I'm not wrong, though I may not be right. I refuse to be corrected. You do not understand, so do not mark me. Do not cut me, I am not in your way. I hold on to love, prop rooted and expansive. I live on my own. If you can't climb this tower of love, simply walk away. Do not hate me, for I am love. If you do not dare it, bear it, or fare me well.
Yes. I think it, again, a woman is always waiting to be loved, and she herself is uh, a love personified, I feel sometimes, because as a mother, it's so unconditional, and the pain also, what a woman experiences is so much like this. I think I'll just go on reading your poems. Even the previous book, I read the entire thing traveling from Bangalore to Madras, and I didn't realize the time flight. Same way, this book also, I think everybody should pick up and read this book. Uh, it's available on Amazon also. So all the best, Sindhoor. Hope you write more and more and more.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Geetutai. It's indeed a privilege that you've launched my book. You don't know how much it means to me. I mean, I'm so happy. Thank you so much.